I love Breece Hall. Last year, I was absolutely banging the drum to draft him early, and it looked like it worked for a while. And then the lovely ACL injury, feel horrible for the guy. But we all know that running backs take a lot of time to return to form after this type of injury. We will be having a special guest on next week to really dive into this. But as of right now, Breece looks healthy, feels healthy, says already. These are all great things. But then they had Dalvin Cook. Tell me the man is declining. You can make that argument. You can do that all you want. But Aaron Rodgers has seen this dude play for years. And then you get the news report the other day that Breece feels great, but mentally he's still afraid to make certain cuts and he gets soreness while running. Normal things when you have an ACL injury or any injury at all. But then I was in 2 underdog drafts yesterday, and he went in the 3rd round and the 4th round, early 4th. And then I saw Steffi Smalls had a draft where he went in the 3rd round. And I'm sorry, but Dalvin's going to eat. If you want Breece on your team, you're going to have to reach for him. And reaching on injured guys with stud dudes playing in the backfield with him is not a way to win fantasy football. So until Breece gets a major course ADP, I am absolutely staying away from him.
Yeah, so this is why I didn't want to talk about it, because I just wanted to give Joe his day, but I 100% agree with Joe. I am not drafting Breece Hall. I have him in one dynasty league that drafted a couple weeks ago, and I'm pretty disappointed in it now, obviously. But this really says more about Breece than it does Dalvin Cook. I don't know who on Twitter or on the internet is talking about how Dalvin Cook lost a step. Just because he doesn't get 16, 13 touchdowns anymore. You want to know why? Because Justin Jefferson's on the team. He gets the touchdowns. He gets all the plays. Like, Dalvin Cook looks exactly the same. Sure, he's 28 years old. I'm surprised Joe's not just like, nope, it's still Breece Hall. He's younger. But really, this had to, they signed Dalvin Cook, sure, because of Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers wants to put this team together and everything. And that's probably true. But it really comes down to they don't know what Breece Hall is yet. We don't know what coming off an ACL. We do know what coming off an ACL can do. It can be bad. It can be good. It can be okay. Good's probably a stretch. But really what it comes down to is Breece Hall's not ready. And this had nothing to do with Michael Carter. This had nothing to do with Abanikanda that I can't pronounce. This had nothing to do with anyone else on this team. It had to do with Breece Hall not being ready yet. This is a one-year deal, so do not sell Breece Hall in Dynasty. You are selling at an all-time low. That's dumb. But in reality, like, Dalvin Cook is the running back on this team now. Like, Breece Hall, sure, he can come back. They might ease him back into it. It might be a crazy backfield that Breece Hall actually can come back and be fully healthy. And then in which case I want neither of them. But it's Dalvin Cook.
Dynasty, you should be trying to acquire Breece Hall right now.
100%.
That is the way to play
this. You are not wrong about that.
Yeah, they're both in, Breece Hall's in a good buy window right now. I would actually float something out for Dalvin Cook as well. I think you're going to get a good, if you're on I'm going for the championship this year kind of team, I do think Dalvin Cook provides a nice floor for you to get into right now. Maybe for not so, maybe cheap, because I don't think the person that has him, probably is kind of banking on his value to be higher, which it's not going to be as high as it's been in the past. Look, I mean, their O-line is the problem, and Aaron Rodgers wants to go into the season. He doesn't know if he's going to have Breece Hall. He does not want to trust Michael Carter or Izzy Abakanda or Ty Johnson or any of these other guys in that backfield. He wants to know that the running back they have in the backfield, if it's not going to be Breece Hall, is going to be somebody who knows how to pass block, and that is why you bring in a guy like Dalvin Cook, who knows how to do that exactly for Kirk Cousins, and now he's going to do it for Aaron Rodgers. I think this is a pretty well beat down of Breece Hall's value. Joe's dead on. This is a stay away at current ADP. You just don't want any piece of this backfield. But if you do get a piece, I think Cook is ironically the answer to the question, not Hall.
100%.
You really knocked it out of the park with that one, guys.
Yeah, well, we're all very, very much on this page. So I'm just going to hop right into the next guy, unless we want to beat the dead horse here, which is Breece Hall, RIP, brother. All right, well, I'm just going to hop right on into Christian Watson. Now, this one seems personally obvious to me, but yet I keep seeing Watson consistently go in the 4th and 5th round in pro drafts and in home drafts and in mock drafts and everything else in between. And it doesn't make literal any sense to me. I've said it once and I'll say it again. His 4-week stretch was nothing more than just a giant outlier. On the majority of those touchdowns between week 10 and 13, it was Aaron Rodgers finding him wide open after 10 seconds of waiting in the pocket. And it's like, oh, well, he's just standing in the end zone. I'll throw it right to him. It literally could have been anyone catching the majority of those touchdowns. Now, I'm not saying none of the plays that he did were skill or him being good, but a lot of those touchdowns were freebies, to say the least. And in case you don't know, Rodgers is not there anymore. And this wide receiver room has really only gotten more crowded. So personally, I don't hate Love. I feel like there's a lot of hate going on about him. Like, he's not going to be it. He can't be it. They're going to suck, blah, 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 blah. I think he's getting written off just a little bit too soon. But I don't know who Love is going to target the most in this offense. Sure, Watson's the biggest guy. I understand why he's the most highly coveted wide receiver. And that 4-week stretch is the only thing that people are hanging their hats on. Well, he had 8 touchdowns in 4 games. So, he's going to be the guy. But we're talking 4th, 5th round for a wide receiver, or the 12th round or later for Dubs or Reed, who's coming in essentially free in a draft. And you could take Watson's 4-game stretch and pretend that it was just anything more than dumb luck and burn a 5th round or 4th round pick on a wide receiver when you could literally build your team so much better than that. I just would rather take the Dubs is going, I think, in the free round, and Reed is going in the 12th round. So I just don't get it. I can't buy that right now. Aaron Jones is the only person on Green Bay that's worth drafting in the first 5 rounds.
I agree with you, but I do like Christian Watson's skill. The touchdowns, something happened last year where he really started to come on. Again, I agree with you about the Jordan Love thing, but at his current ADP, I don't really mind it. He's going wide receiver 26. I think people are drafting him earlier just because of the name, and Packers players tend to get overdrafted anyway. But in that range, you got McLaurin, Drake London, Christian Watson, Deontay Johnson, Tyler Lockett. If you believe in Watson, you think that Christian Watson's going to keep doing it. Personally, I'm neutral on it. I wouldn't mind having him on my team at the right price. Definitely not going to reach for him. You could definitely make the case to me that, Terry McLaurin, I'd probably like him more personally. You could make the case to me that you'd rather have Christian Watson there. So he is the number 1 on this team. I know Dubs has been shown out in training camp, and Jaden Reed, he's got the slot locked down. But until we see how this offense really shakes out, I'm not going to write him off just yet.
Yeah,
go ahead, Bill.
No, I was just going off of that. I agree. I don't know if Christian Watson's going to get necessarily the volume to make him fantasy relevant. I do like a lot of these players on this team, and I think we just don't know what Jordan Love, the kind of quarterback Jordan Love's going to be. Aaron Rodgers really liked to use his number 1 a lot. That was his whole thing. It was Jordy Nelson, Devontae Adams, all throughout the line. And then he would sprinkle in other guys like Randall Cobb and whatnot. We don't know what Jordan Love's going to be. He did look good in that first preseason game. I'll give him the credit there. I still want to see it in an actual NFL football game where they're actually trying. But same time, we don't know. I like Dubs. Musgrave's got a chance this year. We got targets that are going to be siphoned off by Aaron Jones. You got Christian Watson. Jaden Reed's going to make his presence felt. So we don't know what mouth is going to get fed, and we don't know at what volume they're going to get fed. Did you know Christian Watson's going to be the number 1? If you knew that going in, then you would be comfortable taking him in the Terry McLaurin range. But without knowing, you're just kind of hoping for the best right now, and that's kind of a scary place to be in when you're going into a fantasy draft.
If you're in one league, writing Christian Watson off is probably fine. I'm in a ton of leagues this year, and I will probably I'll end up taking shots on Christian Watson just to diversify and get a piece of the action with him.
Yeah. I know that you're probably going off underdog rankings, but currently going above on Fantasy Pros, currently going above Jerry Jeudy, Keenan Allen, Terry McLaurin, Hopkins. I can't do any of those guys. We talk about slips to the 6th, 7th round. Sure, I'm okay with it. That's a gamble. You know what I mean? A 6th, 7th round is more of I feel a little bit better because I have 5 picks already. And pretty much sealed off maybe at least 2 wide receivers, if not 3 already. So you can't just give a 4-game stretch and say that's what he's going to be. You know what I mean? Especially with a potentially inaccurate quarterback or a new quarterback who's trying to figure out, Love's fighting for his life right now. He's 2 years away from a contract year. He has to make this work. So, you could play that argument of, well, he's got Christian Watson and he was really good those 4 weeks, so maybe he'll just feed him. The targets just weren't there for him last year. He made some big plays. There were some really talented plays there, but there are a lot of plays that were just standing in the end zone. Hey, I'm over here. Throw to me. So I don't know. Just to me, that's a stay away, especially at his current ADP. So
I agree. All right. On to the red flag of all red flags. I'm going to talk about my first stay away, and that is Jonathan Taylor. You know, in the movie Titanic, when they see the large white object off in the distance and they're headed straight for it, and they're like, the hell is that? It's a gigantic iceberg, and that is exactly what you're going for when you have Jonathan Taylor on your team. He's still going in, if you're in a 12-team league, he's still going in the second round. That ADP is free-falling right now. I just don't want to be the one stuck holding the bag. This is like GameStop stock. When you had it, when it was really fun and cute to be involved, it was fun. But then when everybody started selling and then you were left holding like a whole lot of GameStop shares, didn't make any sense. That's the same thing with Jonathan Taylor. He clearly does not want to be there. He's left training camp again after coming back for a couple of days, practicing, and then leaving again with a personal matter. That is excused by the team, so it's not an unexcused absence. I just don't love the Jonathan Taylor experience, how it's shaping up to look this year. And on top of everything, if we want to get to the actual offense itself, Anthony Richardson's going to be stealing every touchdown from like the 1, from the 5. You're really only going to have to hope Jonathan Taylor catches balls out of the backfield or that he runs one in from 20 yards out. And even then, I think you might still be in Anthony Richardson territory. I just don't want any part of this guy this year. And frankly, like, unless you're Anthony Richardson himself or whoever he deems as his number one target on the Colts, I wouldn't want any part of this offense. So I don't know. I'm nervous. I don't think Jonathan Taylor is going to play this year. He might, but even then, I think we're talking weeks into the season. I really do.
I actually have to disagree with you on this one, Bill. I actually am pretty excited about Jonathan Taylor's ADP free falling. He is on his last year of his rookie contract. I am super excited about him falling into the second or third round. He's going to play. I don't know what this personal matter is. This could actually be a really serious thing. We know that him and Irsay have traded blows on Twitter, and Irsay keeps kicking him while he's down, which is personally, in my opinion, the dumbest fucking thing. He literally already ate his fucking whatever bullshit Sunday and came back. And then came in and Irsay kicks him while he's down on Twitter. Yeah, that's what I thought, bitch. Essentially. I mean, I'm paraphrasing here. But Jonathan Taylor is a beast. I understand Anthony Richardson's going to steal some rushing yards. I do not think that I don't think anyone uses a quarterback like the Eagles did with Jalen Hurts last year. There's no, I'm going to throw this guy out here and we're going to run from the 1. Jonathan Taylor, especially when you have Jonathan Taylor on your team, you're not doing that, especially if you don't care about Jonathan Taylor's health. You're going to throw him on the dog pile every fucking play. Jonathan Taylor is going to get his, if he plays, which it appears that he's going to. I mean, obviously, if I'm drafting next weekend, I want to see him come back to camp. But Jonathan Taylor is a beast, had a lingering injury all last year, and it obviously looks bad on paper. And I think that paired with this contract dispute makes him look like a huge red flag. But I personally think they're going to work him into the ground. And Jonathan Taylor, there's no option behind Jonathan.
Yeah, I agree with Josh here. I'm going to disagree with Billy 100%. A little bit of a homer pick in the Kings Classic. I got him late third round, so praying to God it's a move that helps me win that league. But I do think that Jim Irsay is a wild man, has no business with the NFL team. But Chris Ballard is very intelligent as a GM, and I think that he is going to make sure that Jonathan Taylor is paid at least something this year, just to get him back on the field, because you have a rookie quarterback going in, you have unproven wide receivers here, tight ends or whatever. If this team is going to be competitive, it's because of Jonathan Taylor, and I truly believe that. And I think the Colts deep down know that, and they will get him involved.
They need to take Jim Irsay's Twitter away.
It would be nice for them to start doing it then. I mean, why wait this long? Why piss him off more just to reel him back in? Like, I think he's dug in even more now than he was a week and a half ago, when they could have easily fixed this with signing a bullshit deal where all the money was deferred. They could have done that with a large signing bonus up front. They could have fixed this a week and a half ago. They didn't want to. They want to be, I don't know. Chris Ballard could have fixed this over the summer if he really wanted to. And he didn't.
To be fair, I don't think they knew what the running back market was going to turn into at that point. I think they thought there was some chirping at the time. It wasn't what it was 3 weeks ago. And then everything blew up. And then Jim Irsay, I don't know what he is doing, but it is the dumbest move in the world. I'm sorry, but You do not have Patrick Mahomes. You do not have Tom Brady. You are not winning football games without Jonathan Taylor. Like, you're an idiot. Like, I understand Richardson's talent is going to be great, but you know what you're going to get is what Justin Fields did last year without a running back. So you're going to get 3-4 wins. I mean, you're going to be happy with that. Maybe you'll get Marvin Harrison. Sure. That'd be your best case scenario. Maybe that's what they're doing.
Happy with that.
Maybe this is the tank.
They definitely would be happy with that. And then you mentioned like work him into the ground. If he doesn't want to, then he's not going to. Like, they can put him out there and call a run play every play. If he doesn't want to do it, I don't think he's going to do it.
He's still playing for a contract next year, regardless.
Yeah,
he has
Jonathan
to play
Taylor,
but not with this
Jonathan
team.
Taylor has not made enough money. I think your two options are he shows up, he gets paid, he plays, or he gets traded, and he's playing for a team. And we know what
traded is the best case snenario here. If he gets traded,
maybe that's what this personal matters.
He's not a stay away. If he gets traded, he's not a stay away. If he's on the Colts week 1, I do not want any part of this. I do not want to see what lengths he's willing to go to prove a point. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see what point or how far Jim Irsay wants to take it. Like, I don't want to see either. I just don't want any part of it. I don't know. Just not me this year. I'll come back around next year when we have this all sorted out.
Let's just add some more fuel to the fire and talk about my second layaway or stay away. My apologies. Do not lay this man away. And it's Josh Jacobs. And this is the guy who is actually potentially not going to play this season. Josh Jacobs has made strides and has not been active on anything internet-wise since August 3rd. And that was him basically thanking the NFL for putting him in the top 100. Josh Jacobs is the lead of the running back resistance. I'm personally not drafting this man anywhere unless I hear a murmur of his return, which we do not have. At least we have that from Jonathan Taylor at the moment. He left town in a hurry at the midst of all this running back dilemma. And the Raiders, even if he is here, are not looking like an uber competitive team this year with Garoppolo, Devontae Adams pretty unhappy. Like, this whole team is unhappy. Like, that's what happens when you rip a team away from their hometown. That's beside the point. Oakland homer coming out of me. But honestly, the way they treated Carr last year is evidence enough of me to leave this one alone. There's no begging for Josh Jacobs to come back. Now, it could change in a hurry if Jacobs kisses and makes up with the organization. And at that point, feel free to disregard everything I'm saying here. But at the moment, we haven't heard a lick from him. And I have no person in their right mind is going to convince me that Josh Jacobs is going to play this season. Maybe himself, whenever he says, I'm back, I'm sorry, listen, I'm pissed off. This running back shit is awful. And honestly, everything we saw from him last year was nothing short of amazing. But until we see him, literally, physically see him, that second round pick is far too valuable to burn on a guy who is, I don't know, currently burnt out and shows no signs of playing. So that's the guy I'm staying away from. Obviously, being the number one running back in fantasy football last year, coming back to this and wanting the number one running back in football and wanting a contract. Man, that's so absurd. I can't believe that he would do that. This is the person that you don't touch. Where is he right now? Can you guys tell me what country he's in? What city he's in? I can't.
He's wherever Billy was. Bangladesh.
There you go. Yep.
Jonathan Taylor's a much safer bet, in my opinion, than Josh Jacobs.
I personally I'm the complete opposite. I think Josh Jacobs will be back like pretty soon. I think before the season starts. We did the same thing off season. He came back and he was the RB1. Thing about Josh Jacobs is there's no public breakup. There's no public outcry. Like, the GM is still very confident that they're going to get a deal done before the season starts. Like, this one I am not worried about. And if he signs, he gets $10 million. If they rework a contract, he gets that too, because he hasn't signed the tender yet, so they can still negotiate, I believe. I'm not worried at all. Josh Jacobs will be back.
I am overly joyed to plug the Kings Classic draft as many times as possible, but he went in the 6th round in that draft,
which is just wild.
And I think at that point, I am very happy to take a shot on Josh Jacobs. It just depends. At his current ADP, people have a lot of faith in it. It's worrisome, but at a certain point, it becomes the value. So
yeah, 100%. If he goes to the 6th round, I'm just talking about his current ADP in the literal 2nd round, potentially end of 1st round in some drafts. Like, I've seen Jacobs go everywhere at this point. And if he slips to the 3rd, 4th round, I'm feeling a little bit more comfortable about taking that roll in the dice on it. It just has Melvin Gordon written all over it to me right now. Like, I see this happening, and it stinks, Billy. I know it stinks, and I hate it. No, I'm just kidding. I saw you waving your hand. But no, I mean, honestly,
there's a bug flying around.
You're fine. But honestly, just like I don't. Melvin Gordon did this whole thing with the Chargers. He held out, and then he came back later, and then he just didn't look right. Like, I don't know what Josh Jacobs is doing right now. He might be smoking peyote in the desert for all we know at the moment on the retreat with Aaron Rodgers. But I don't know. Just to me, at his current ADP, I can't do it. I have a couple drafts coming up that I'm excited about, and I have a feeling Josh Jacobs will not be on that roster.
Yeah. Rodgers and Sauce have the best handshake, by the way. That weed smoking one. I love it.
It is a good one. And then they go
I'm going to jump in. Yeah. I'm going to jump into my stay away. It's DK Metcalf. I got saying these are not guys that I dislike. I love DK Metcalf. He is but at his current price, wide receiver 16, going 29th overall. I'm avoiding it like the plague. Just to start off, we have Metcalf. He finishes wide receiver 16 last year. 3 spots ahead of him, we have Tyler Lockett, who finishes wide receiver 13. It's a great season by those fellas. Round of applause. And then we add in Geno Smith, who had a career renaissance and finished with 4,200 passing yards, 572 attempts, 70% completion percentage. Finishing his QB5, he had 100% or 100 passer rating, and then he won his way right back into our hearts. Geno Smith was a great story. And then we had Ken Walker, who had a great rookie season, an improved offensive line this year, and a healthy Noah Fant. So what is not to like here? Well, Geno was insanely efficient last year, having almost 150 less pass attempts than Tom Brady and Justin Herbert. Metcalf had a career high in targets, receptions, and yards, but a career low in touchdowns. And then we add in the selection of JSN in the first and Zach Charbonnet in the second. JSN was an absolute monster in college, and for his one healthy season, he was a baller. And in training camp, he has dropped 1 ball in 25 practices, is virtually uncoverable, according to NFL veterans, and is just so silky smooth running those routes. I beg you to get on Twitter, watch those routes he's running. It is awesome. So ding on that. And then we look at the Charbonnet pickup. Insurance behind Ken Walker? No. They want to get back to the ground and pound offense. Geno had more pass attempts last year than Russell Wilson ever had in a Seahawks uniform. So another ding for me. And then we have a pretty big bitch of a schedule that the best secondaries in the NFL. Another ding. And lastly, the Seahawks ran 11 personnel 70% of the time. So you're going to see Lockett, JSN, and Metcalf on the field a lot. I love DK, but I will be taking Tyler Lockett at wide receiver 28 and JSN at wide receiver 38 if I want a piece of this offense. Where he is going right now is ahead of Amari Cooper, Calvin Ridley. I'd rather have both of them than DK. DeAndre Hopkins, especially with this Treylon Burks injury, I'd rather have than DK Metcalf. Chris Godwin, probably about even. And then we have Jerry Jeudy and DJ Moore, both of them who I would rather have over DK Metcalf as well. So I am avoiding DK Metcalf like the plague.
I was wondering where you're going with this DK Metcalf thing, and you don't have me quite officially convinced because this one was the one I was like, blasphemy. I fucking love DK Metcalf. 140 targets last year. He looked fucking phenomenal. I understand the JSN. I figured that's where you were going to focus on. But honestly, right after Devontae Smith at wide receiver 15, it's a cliff, and Metcalf's right at that cliff. And I'd rather, like you said, there's Ridley, Moore, Jerry Jeudy, Keenan Allen, Terry McLaurin. And they're all in the same boat, kind of. I mean, a little bit different, more of the number 1 on a shitty team. And then Metcalf, number 1 of 3, as like a 1A, 1B, 1C potentially. So I get the logic there. And the price tag for Lockett's phenomenal. In our home league, I got him at what, like the 8th, 9th round. I mean, it's a free position. I think everyone just assumes JSN is going to take over Lockett's position. It's Metcalf and it's JSN. I don't think that's the case. I do think it's all 3 of them. I do think Metcalf still gets his personally. I don't think that it's he's gone. I don't think the target share of 140 will be there, but it'll still be 100. I mean, it's DK Metcalf. He's the biggest guy on the field. The touchdown dip is what gets me last year, is if Geno in his career year could not get him those 10 to 8 touchdowns, what is he going to do this year with more options? I mean, the Charbonnet and JSN pickups are worse. Honestly, I kind of want to stay away from this whole offense, except for like the late rounds, like paying high money for this. Like it's the same way I feel about Ken Walker that you feel about DK Metcalf. And they're both valid points. Is they just signed a new guy, man. Like, how do they feel about him? I mean, Metcalf's going to be on the team for the years to come, obviously, but that wide receiver 17 is a bit steep. So I agree and disagree with you respectfully.
Thank you.
Yeah. My only opinion of DK Metcalf is I feel like every team that goes running back is going to end up with DK Metcalf. I think every build of a team where you see DK Metcalf on it, it's going to be they win a running back in the first round, they went around and got a running back in the second round, and then the third round, they're like, DK Metcalf. That's what team he's going to end up on roster construction wise. I don't think anybody who's a savvy wide receiver entrepreneur is going to go after DK Metcalf, but I think he's going to end up on plenty of teams where they are scrambling.
The sad thing is that's you just said my drafts. So yeah, I think I'm going to go wide receiver now.
That's what I mean. That's what it
Avoid
is.
the
Nobody
landmines.
who's a wide receiver hawk is going for DK Metcalf, but the running back crew, they're DK fans.
I don't know though. DK Metcalf as your wide receiver 3 would be pretty cool, but I don't think most people are doing wide receiver. It's usually a tight end.
If he was your third wide receiver all day, because those spike weeks are going to win you weeks. But
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, but the problem is we saw it last year with the 2-point games, the 5-point games. As if you watch this on YouTube, you'll see that. But like, there's more of those coming, or just more. I honestly almost feel like DK Metcalf's going to end up being that consistent guy, the 12 points instead of the 30 points. I feel like the big plays are going to go to the fast guys. JSN is obviously going to have a lot of catches throughout the year, probably. I mean, we don't know what this team is going to be, and I think that's the biggest fear factor on this. Is you have 5 offensive weapons, not to mention even Noah Fant's still on the team. I mean, I'm not saying he's fantasy relevant, but he's still going to be catching balls out there. So
safe floor, not such a high ceiling. I feel like probably
correct. Yeah. I mean, DK is still the alpha. There's no denying that. He's a freak of freaking nature. But
if there's going to be a bad year, it's this year.
It's going to be a team effort on the whole team. So yeah, we shall see.
I'm kind of just scared of this team as a whole and any of their players on my roster. So
yeah, I like Charbonnet, I like JSN, I like Lockett. I'm pretty much avoiding the rest of that team.
But that's because you're getting them cheap. It's not because you like them.
Geno's a good value right now.
That's also
it's
fair.
the value. It's just the value. Well, yeah,
I would rather just invest in Geno.
I feel like I'm going to now.
Yeah. All right, Josh.
Are we hopping into the layaways?
Oh wait, I have a stay away. Oh, my bad. My stay away to end off is Deebo Samuel for the San Francisco 49ers. Look, he had a really good pop year 2 years ago. Last year came crashing back down to earth. And you can go out there and say, like, it was the quarterback situation. And I agree with you. And guess what? The quarterback situation is still it's not bad with Brock Purdy. There is, I think, a higher floor for Deebo Samuel than last year because it was so all over the place. But I still am not like overly excited about this offense. And I still think it runs through Christian McCaffrey. I think the Kittle-McCaffrey duo is going to be soaking up a lot of the targets. I think where you're going to get Brandon Ayuk right now is just an absolute – that is who you want off of this team right now. You're going to get great value, and he's going to get probably the same amount of targets as Deebo, and you're probably going to get him 4 or 5 rounds later, and that can't happen. Like, I know Deebo's kind of dipped down. I think everybody's kind of wising up a little bit to it, but they're still going to be in your home drafts. There's still going to be a guy that remembers what he did 2 years ago. And I'm just telling you, do not fall for it. Do not go for it in the 4th round. You're going to be using a pick on a player that's not going to do the rushing thing. How fun that was to you. None of that's going to happen anymore. It would take injuries and devastating ones at that to get back to that point. And it's just not worth betting on that very early in your draft.
Yeah, my biggest thing with Deebo is his value tanked the second Christian McCaffrey joined the team. Obviously, we didn't have the 30, like the 2 years ago, we got the 30, 40-point games from Deebo. He was running the ball. He was catching the ball. He was lining up everywhere. But the thing is right when McCaffrey joined that team, Deebo he was not consistent anymore. The consistency went right out the window. I personally think Deebo's gonna be okay. I don't think just don't envision that 1,400 yards. I assume they're going to probably try to transfer him back to a regular receiver, which is what they should do. But they're still going to be – the problem is they tried to use Mitchell still last year to keep McCaffrey healthy. They used Deebo in the run game still whenever McCaffrey came, but it wasn't consistent. That year that he had the run that he had 2 years ago, like literal, the run that he had, the way he was playing was just a weird mix, and it was just amazing. But that's gone. Like, and McCaffrey's on the team, Kittle's there still. We got Ayuk as an actual true receiver. Deebo's kind of like that weapon. He's basically the Taysom Hill of San Francisco. I'm scared to draft him at his current ADP. I personally don't dislike him. I think there's a chance that he does turn into an actual good player, but until I see it, I can't draft him. He's literally going one pick above DK Metcalf. I'd rather have him.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's back to the ADP. I think Deebo is going to be – he's going to Deebo. I mean, his injury coincided pretty closely with Purdy starting last year, so they only had a couple of games together. I think an offseason practice, obviously Purdy is just now getting back, but maybe we see some chemistry develop there. And, you know, even with your Ayuk point, where he's going right now, I really like it. I do see him being the wide receiver one, the true wide receiver on this team. But we don't know what Purdy and Deebo can actually be together yet. And it kind of scares me off of Ayuk, too. And then you add Kittle and McCaffrey and, you know, whatever else. It's not Richie James this year. It'll be somebody else. But there's always something going on with this team that makes me worried about their wide receivers in general. And, I mean, there's a chance that Deebo kind of bounces back to what we saw him be. It's just at his ADP, I'm not taking that shot.